Bang. Vroom, vroom. What is up, everybody? My name is Matt. We are the KAM Racing Podcast. This is my co-host AJ. Um,
What's up,
kind of,
everybody?
yeah, yeah. Let's break the ice a little bit, I guess. Um, so a little bit of a backstory is we are a mainly a racing team. We do a lot of endurance racing on iRacing. We do IndyCar racing. We are huge race fans all the way around. Um, so I'll be mainly here to talk about a lot of like Formula One, um, and be able to touch on a little bit of like NASCAR and like IMSA and Sports Car Championship, World Endurance Championship, um, and then definitely at the end of everything, plan on touching on a lot of sim racing. So yeah, AJ.
Yeah, thank you. My name is AJ. I've been sim racing for about 4 years. I'm a COVID sim racer. I'm a product of those times, but I'm not someone who's put it down. I've kept it, and it's one of those things where I can't believe I haven't didn't do it sooner. You know what I mean? Um,
For sure.
been a race fan my whole life. Been going to the Indy 500 for over the past 20 years. Big IndyCar fan, but grew up watching NASCAR. I think everyone's kind of picked up on the F1 boom the last few years, but I've always kind of sort of kept up with it. But this last few years, it's been exciting. I'm not a Drive to Survive F1 fan, so just gonna lay that out there. All right, I liked it before it was cool. Okay.
Right.
um, but yeah, no. So we thought that this could be something where, we can maybe bridge the gap for some people with the real racing, because we're deep down we're just true race fans, motorsport fans. We like anything with four wheels and some with two. Um, and being as big into sim racing and iRacing specifically as we are, there's a lot of things that I think maybe the average viewer of either real world or sim racers can kind of connect between the two. iRacing has done such a good job with the realism and the physics behind the game that it truly is a sim and a sim of real life. Um,
Definitely.
yeah. So at that, I think what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about real world racing and real world stuff, and then maybe at the end of every episode we can tie it into some sim racing stuff, right?
Yeah, definitely. To touch on that a little bit, I am not a COVID sim racer. I wish I remember watching sim racing around that time and wishing that I was doing that, but life was taking me elsewhere. But eventually I got to sim racing, and now it's like I remember like the first time getting in the sim, which was like a lawn chair, and a Logitech wheel. And it felt like I was in the race car, and from that moment I was like, wow, just instantly hooked. But yeah, definitely want to, hopefully be able to kind of tie in some of those gray areas between like the real world of racing and then the sim racing. Because believe it or not, there's a ton of similarities. Just within our race team, we have a couple guys who race go-karts in real life, and the amount of time and preparation and all that goes into it in real life. I mean, obviously you don't get the whole mechanical side of it, but you're getting a lot of the same things and a lot of the same strategy calls, and yeah, so it's just really fun. It's a super big passion of ours. So anyways, I'm gonna kick it right off into we're gonna start with some Formula One. So let me get over here to I think it was on the wrong one. Hold on. Nope, still on the wrong one. Um,
It's okay. This is our first one ever. Bear with us, fans.
okay, so that's right. No, we're not going to get into F1 immediately. We are going to get into the 12 hours of Sebring.
Sure.
That's right. That's why this looked foreign to me. Okay, so yeah, Wayne Taylor Racing. They won the 12 hours of Sebring. Congrats to them. They've obviously put in a lot of hard work. I think Lady Luck was definitely on their side for the team. Um, Taking it into consideration, their last 12 hours of Sebring win was in 2017. So, it's been 7 years that they've showed up to this race every year expecting to win and to not win. So I'm sure them boys feel absolutely thrilled. Um, and their last win in the GTP class, I'm pretty sure was the 6 hours of the Glen in 2022 at the end of 2022. So to not have a win for all of 2023, um, obviously fall short of Daytona, and then to
Right.
come out, yeah, come out and win. I'm sure they're feeling great. Unfortunately, Pippo Durrani flipped upside down on the wall, 38 Gs. AJ, what do you think that impact would feel like? We don't get that kind of realism, huh?
No, and I think we're pretty fortunate for that one. Yeah, no, he hit that wall a ton, and that car pretty much just had nowhere to go. I mean, those tires did their job for sure, but that car just jumped kind of straight up, and it seemed like it landed pretty soft, but that's still a scary situation with these closed cockpit cars to be upside down for any amount of time,
For sure.
and for the safety crew to be diligent and so delicate, I should say, on lifting the car up properly and getting him out of there. Amazing job by the camera crew to pick up that, because you totally could see when they lifted that car up, and you could see him still in the car and strapped in to a seatbelt, and then he all of a sudden you can see him there kind of picking him up, and then he's walking to the ambulance, giving the crowd the thumbs up. So just a testament to the safety and all that. All the stuff that we say all the time. It's easy to take for granted, and to see in moments like this where how much of an impact that was, and how he survived it so easily, so to speak. So um,
Definitely.
definitely spectacular crash. A lot of people like the entertainment of the crashes for sure, but
Yeah.
it can be scary. But it's always nice to see him walk out and give that thumbs up, and that's what he did.
And he was lightning quick too. I mean, if you watch some of the restarts, he was on it. I mean,
Yeah,
every restart.
yeah, definitely pushing the car early, and that's like the risk you take, I guess.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting in this race is that a lot of the moments in the race came from the leader of the GTPs having problems. So like he was leading the race when this happened, going through traffic. I know there was a Penske Porsche that blew a tire while he was leading.
Mhm.
So that was interesting. Sebring is not always about straight up pace. It's 12 hours might sound easier than 24, but I'd argue this 12 hours at Sebring is harder to survive than the 24 hours of Daytona.
Definitely. I think Daytona's a little bit more forgiving. That we'll just start with like the track that is laid, a lot fresher tarmac, a lot less bumps. I mean, the history behind Sebring is half of why it still is the way it is today. So,
Classic airfield.
Daytona,
Yep.
right? Yeah, and you have NASCAR running on Daytona, so that's obviously a big difference. So they've got to keep kind of the oval in good shape as well. Um, yeah, hats off to the race teams. I can only imagine, what it's like to be in real life, leading for 5, 6 hours, just absolutely lightning quick, cars working just fine, everything's working in your favor, and then, just one minor mistake just leads, that's all it takes. So,
Yeah, and I never really got a good look at it, whether who was taking the blame, and I don't even think Durrani was placing blame on anybody there either. It was just two cars kind of going to the same tarmac there, and someone didn't realize they were clean, but I don't think that was really on anybody. It was just
yeah,
a multi-class racing incident.
yeah, definitely. I think what it boils down to is the racing incident. I did take a look at the replay, and Durrani did have plenty of room on the left-hand side, but
Mm-hmm.
the part of the section of track they were going through, he's trying to make a split decision. The other car is trying to stay as far away from trouble as possible. It's unfortunate, but you see it all the time. You also got to think about the limited visibility you have in these cars. I mean, it's insane, the stuff that you just can't see. There's a couple of videos floating around on YouTube if you guys are interested. You can take a look at like the cockpit camera, like when you're strapped in and you have, your Hans device around you and stuff. Like, you have tunnel vision, and it's not by choice. Basically, you're strapped into a rocket.
And it's not like you can
So
look right or left to see
right.
what's around you. Those drivers are strapped in, like how you were just doing there. You're locked in. You're looking forward. This movement right here is about all they've got, and
Yep,
uh, and those A pillars, those A arms, and everything. In that cockpit there. Yeah, it is definitely hard to see those direct surroundings.
for sure. Um, do you want to have the honors of talking about Chip Ganassi Racing and
Yeah, I can definitely do that, and
okay.
I can just touch on a little bit of Wayne Taylor too. I was exciting to see Colton Herta, fellow IndyCar driver, in that winning GTP. Um,
Yeah.
he there was just cool crossovers there. I made the point while we were watching it. Watching an IMSA race is practically an IndyCar race, but with sports cars, because you got Chip Ganassi Racing, you've got Wayne Taylor Andretti, you've got I should say with Andretti, you've got the Penske Porsches, you've got Rahal Letterman Lanigan BMWs out there. So if you're an IndyCar fan or if you're an IMSA fan, you should think about watching one or the other, or you should think about watching both of them, because you're pretty much watching the same people.
Definitely. It's really, I wouldn't say ironic, but it's kind of funny how um we've got IndyCar and Sports Car Championship over here, and they are both to the core tied in together. A lot of the same drivers who fight in the IndyCar Championship are also fighting for the Rolex in the Daytona 24 and further down the season. So it's really awesome. Also, for the drivers who are going in either car, to be able to kind of have that skill to be able to, jump in one car that is super sketchy one weekend and then jump in another car that acts totally different, and then yeah, it's pretty awesome. Um,
So yeah, for Chip Ganassi and Cadillac, they are splitting up. They're splitting up at the end of the year. They're breaking up. Good old
big
breakups.
breakup.
Yeah, it is, and it's just kind of I don't know. I want to say ironic, just because I feel like some of the first shots or the first look at any of the GTPs we saw was the Cadillacs. I mean, I felt
Mm-hmm.
like that red, yellow, and blue were such a staple when we were
Yes.
bringing these new cars out. At least from an iRacer's perspective, because they were heavily promoted. We got the BMW first. Uh, but the Cadillac seemed to be the one that a lot of people jumped on. Now I know iRacing has almost all of them, but the Cadillac, at least for us, we drive it and it's our favorite. We're Americans, right?
Right.
But
No disrespect towards the other brands.
oh, I meant disrespect, but
That's awesome.
um, I'm speaking to you, F1. We'll get to that at another time. But for the IMSA and also for the WEC series, Chip has these cars in both of those series, and they will be splitting up. Sounds pretty mutual. Um, Chip is making it sound like it's business as usual.
Right.
Just to quote him right here. Our business is built in partnership, and just like this chapter is ending, another chapter will start. We'll continue this year to do our job, and we're hired to do by General Motors and Cadillac in a positive manner. So this is only from the Chip side. We have not really heard a word much from GM. Um, there is supposedly some interest in some teams in the WEC series wanting to become a customer of GM. So that would be interesting. It's always nice to see people on the other side of the pond interested in American muscle.
Sure. But from Ganassi's standpoint, he's got to be looking at the table like, well, who's gonna take me to the next championship? You know,
Yeah, yeah, and if I know Chip at all, he's already got that figured out.
probably.
We don't know where he's going with it. They've been, I think, pretty quiet on who they're going to go with just at this moment for next year. The only thing I can think of is if was wasn't Meyer Shank an Acura last year?
He was.
that would be my first guess. Is that Acura is looking for a new team, and they probably were the ones to reach out to. This is all speculation. This is AJ's
Sure.
speculation. Put that disclosure on here. This is just AJ's tinfoil hat theory. Um,
Disclosure.
yeah,
No, just
sure. But if I was Acura and I essentially turned in my race-winning car and data to end up getting that team disqualified from the Daytona 24 Hours last year. Um,
yeah.
if they're doing anything, they're trying to amend that and go with someone who's reputable. And I'm not saying Meyershank and their whole team isn't. It's just that they got caught doing something they shouldn't, and
Sure.
Acura doesn't want to be a part of that. And if Chip, I just feel like if I was Acura, that's who I would have reached out to. And I don't
Yeah.
know if it's a coincidence or not that now the next domino to fall is Ganassi and GM breaking up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and it's going to be interesting to see how the cards kind of unfold. Um, you know, Acura, I want to say that they were probably doing the right thing. For the love of the sport, they probably didn't want any backlash or bad names to come back on them. So, in order to save their own ass, it's probably what they had to do. Um, and it's unfortunate they lose a customer at that point too. They lost millions of dollars making that decision. So, I mean, you've got to give hats off to them and respect because they obviously are looking out for themselves for one, and then looking out for the sport and making sure we're having some good, fair competition over here in the IMSA world. So that's good.
And on a positive note for IMSA, they are growing.
Yeah.
And so on that note, we're gonna move on to our next story, right?
Yep. Let's do it.
Um, yeah, no, IMSA has been attracting a lot of growth from some new owners, and that's how a sport grows. Is not necessarily the manufacturers or the GMs or the Acuras that we're talking about. It's the people paying for them to put that on, and
Hmm.
what stuck out to me in that article from Pruitt is that it was that Roush Fenway Keselowski Cup team, RFK. I know every NASCAR fan is gonna yell at me for saying that's so bad. I'm sorry. I'm used to it
Banned.
just being Roush Fenway, but it looks like Bad Brad wants his foot in some IMSA stuff. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, that would be. I don't want to say that's completely unexpected, but I don't think that they have had any ties to IMSA or sports car racing in the past. Um,
And
so
that makes me wonder, if Chip Ganassi and GM are kind of parting ways, and let's say Chip goes to Acura, now GM is without a customer, and then
well, they're
this
Ford
new.
guys,
Ooh, okay. See, I didn't
so
know. I didn't take that into
they're
consideration.
Ford guys. Yeah. Now that doesn't necessarily
So,
mean much when you're switching series like this. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Chip and Roger Penske are two great examples of that. That they're businessmen at their core, and they can make a deal with anyone. Um, so I mean, I'm sure they can too. But
sure.
Ford and GM. Why don't we bring Ford into this?
Wow, wouldn't that be
Yeah,
insane to
why not?
see
A
a
Ford
Ford
GTP.
GTP?
Yeah.
As long as it's not wrecking into the crowd at every
Oh
corner.
no, that's a low blow.
I'm just kidding. I'm a
Oh,
Ford guy, honestly.
lo-
I've had a couple power strokes myself, so but I tease where I can. I'm all about having, more and more exposure, more teams joining, more. I would like to see more manufacturers in IMSA. If you kind of compare it to World Endurance Championship, which you really can't because it's the same class cars, but it's different tracks, man. You almost have a total different scenery and kind of track build and layout and stuff. So, but if you're comparing it manufacturers wise, you have a boatload of manufacturers in WEC. I don't think that IMSA is necessarily worried about having a bunch of manufacturers. I think they're
it's on an
pro-
upswing. All sports car racing right now is on a huge upswing. and it's the manufacturers wanting to get into the sports, and that's when the sport does well. Is when developers want their products on show for their fans and for their future buyers. That has not been the case last 15, 20 years. It's racing like that is can go up and down. Uh,
Yeah.
and right now we are in a technology boom, so to speak. I don't know what I'm trying to
Yep.
say there, but
Yeah.
these
100%.
with these new hybrids has brought in a huge influx of interest to the sport,
Yeah.
and that everyone's in the hybridification modes and into electric and all that. I hope we never go full electric, but I'm a
Sure.
fan. I'm down for both because they make some very cool supercars. These are truly
Yes.
supercars.
Yes, they are. Speaking from experience, I think a lot of the people that are coming into like the GTP category are brought there from like the aerodynamics and like the trickle down Formula One technology that's being used. And what I say from experience is that's literally why I race on iRacing. I race the GTP class because I am a huge Formula One guy. I love the cars. I love how they drive, and to be able to get in the GTP, and of course, it doesn't translate, 1 to 1, but it is a very close representative with just how the cars drive, how you brake, driving like racing line and all that good stuff. So, um, I think that could be what we're seeing is like the GTPs are becoming a lot more faster, more aerodynamically efficient. So you're seeing a lot of, and then, we have to talk about iRacing, the spectacular job they're doing with multi-class racing on their platform. Um, so I think that could tie into it a little bit as to why we're seeing such a big boom as, you have sim racers and real world drivers alike absolutely eating up these new cars. Um, so yeah, it's all around. It's a good time to be a racing fan. It's a good time to be a sim racer. Um,
We're living in a golden era of racing, and I don't think people are realizing it. It's something very
right.
easily that you look back on and say, "Man, those were the good old days." Well, in sports
Sure.
cars specifically, this is the good old days right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because who knows, man? 20 years, man. We could be racing fully electric, no sound, like,
Oh
just,
man, I felt that in my spine there.
you're
Ugh.
right. Just all you hear is tires screeching. Gosh.
I need the smell of gasoline.
You're right. Like turbos and.
All right, well, let's
All
end
right.
this sports car talk off with a reason why you need to go to Sebring. Can we
Yep.
pull this video up here?
I think we can. So let
We will
me pull
try
this.
from Christina Lamb on X. Oh, I see it on the stream here. Look at this, guys. Look at this compound. These people have built. Supposedly, it's here every year at Sebring. These people come here. They got a dang fish tank.
Dodge City, home of the Stumble Inn.
Just
Look
a,
at the beer cans.
a great example of sports car racing culture at its finest. I
Yes.
don't want to know what the chicken's for.
I don't either, honestly. Oh, and look at the view.
The chicken's got the best view.
He does. He's got to wake the drivers up when they're getting tired. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, like the absolute, what am I looking for as far as words? Um, like the dedication that these fans have to be able to show up on these race weekends. And I've only been to one kind of big event like that, and it was the Indy 500 last year. Um, and I was there for basically 3 days, and that was what you see, like the camaraderie, everyone coming together. There are 100 to 200, 300,000 people there, and it's just everyone having a great time and enjoying racing, and it's awesome. So. Yeah, rounding it off, let me see if I can pull this over here. Here are your GTP results. So you have Wayne Taylor racing with Andretti up in P1 with the Acura, Cadillac racing in P2, Porsche Penske Motorsport in P3. And then, I said I wasn't gonna forget his name. Jack Hawksworth with the team Lexus brought in the GT3 or the GTD Pro victory. Um, Connor Zilic and
In the
his team
LMP2, yep.
in the LMP2. He is off to a fire start in his career. Absolutely insane.
Yep, another great sports car driver that's going to get swept up by NASCAR.
Ah,
Unfortunately, I would love to see him come to IndyCar, but he's going to be racing more trucks, I think, this weekend.
he's
Um,
going where the money is.
oh yeah, yeah. We could. That's a whole other conversation. We can have that one, but it's not right now.
Mm-hmm. All right. NASCAR. You want to touch on the NASCAR?
Yeah, sure. So
Kyle,
I'll.
if you're watching this.
Yes, Kyle, I need you. Um, Kyle's our NASCAR guy, but I did watch most of the race without sound because I had some company over this weekend. But it was on the TV. I wish I had the sound because I saw a lot of passing going on, and I was totally not able to follow what was going on. And so I was catching up, and apparently, yeah, it was a tire race. The IndyCar race last week was a fuel saving race, and the Bristol NASCAR race was a tire saving race.
Okay.
Fortunately, I think it was produced a better product than the dirt. It was the first spring race at Bristol back uh, without the dirt for a few years now. I think the fans wanted that, even though there was still some backlash. There's always some haters wishing the dirt would come back. But I think that I think Bristol it's an asphalt track. That's the way it should be. I think it's a waste of time and money to bring in all that dirt when you got plenty of other dirt tracks. If you want to do that kind of racing, you need to go to a dirt track then.
For
Um,
sure.
that being said, I feel this race still had its problems. Apparently, so oh man, here this I may have
What?
said something wrong because I might about to be
No,
corrected.
not exactly.
Okay.
Because I hate. Okay,
That
I'll
is
turn on the
awesome.
I'll turn on the camera for the shits and giggles.
Everyone,
But
really quick, welcome Brendan
so
Holt to the
there you
podcast.
go.
This is another
Brendan
one of
Polt.
Cam Endurance drivers. Go.
Hey everybody, but so okay, so actually they can't hear me. They can't hear AJ either. They can only hear you, Matt. That's kind of why I barged in here.
Wait, what?
What?
The Twitch side is not hearing AJ or probably myself. I
Really?
tried saying in the Twitch chat, general from Neil, and he probably have a DM from Neil too saying the same thing. So yeah, and they cannot
I can hear you in the
hear
Twitch.
AJ. And really?
Okay,
Yeah.
try it
I
now.
couldn't.
I see. I see it now. Try it now. I'm adjusting.
La.
I mean, you're showing up.
Yeah, okay, I hear me. AJ say something.
Hey, hello, hello. Test.
Okay, we got everybody now. Woohoo!
Okay.
We got
Oh
everybody.
Well,
man,
I have
you have the
recording an
recording.
audio, so
Yes.
at least we can keep the audio.
Pair the two.
Maybe we'll see if we're smart enough to do that.
If you need
All right.
editing, I'm here. But anyways, I heard NASCAR before this
Yes.
happened, so might want to re-say what you said for the past 2
What did I
minutes.
say?
Whatever,
like dirt.
Whatever Matt asked it. Maybe
yeah.
Bristol
So,
absolutely shredding tires. Who knows?
so
No,
AJ was touching on how basically NASCAR was a tire saving game this past race.
That's true.
Correct. And that's what I remember. And dirt sucks.
I just saw that everyone was blowing tires, and Kyle Busch drove backwards.
He did. I was surprised. I mean, he's done that before, kind of in qualifying. Oh, what year was that? I think that was 2018, where he messed up a qualifying run before he got to the line. So he just parked it, went back to the pit road exit, and tried again. So he's known for doing stuff like that, and so he doesn't get a lap down or gets the right spots. Obviously, it was hard to put in reverse considering his right rear tire literally didn't exist outside of just the rim.
Mm.
I
Well,
mean,
that's what I was seeing is when those tires were blowing. I mean, they were not just going; they were gone. Like there was
oh
nothing
yeah.
left to them.
Do we have
Holy sh-
images of the tread of the tires at the end of that? So I know they exist on the internet, but
Matt,
it was. So if somebody finds a picture of that stuff, man,
So while he's looking for that,
they would run 50 laps and you could see the tread or the wire of the tire, which you're not
Yeah.
supposed to see in
Yeah.
NASCAR these days.
So I heard I was catching up on Kenny Wallace's YouTube channel. He was going off on his normal crazy stuff, but he was saying that the difference was that they didn't use the PJ1 this time, is that they used the resin compound. And it was actually the same tires that they've been bringing to Bristol this whole time, but the resin is just reacting differently than the PJ1, supposedly. I don't know if you can
Yeah.
correct me on that.
So
That is
it
insane.
seems from what I've noticed from the past week, and I haven't done any research, but from the past weekend I've noticed the resin not only doesn't take in rubber as well as the PJ1 did, if you try and get power off on resin, it definitely eats up that right rear a hell of a lot more. You see the photos on the podcast now that Matt has pulled up. It
Yep.
is crazy.
Yes.
And tires were gone. Like that's just in general tires. NASCAR
Shredding.
literally had to approve a extra set of tires for all the teams because you literally were gonna run out with 100 laps left in the race,
That's
Okay.
which is unheard of.
So
in
then
these-
what
this
I'm
day and age.
hearing then is the PJ1 makes the tires last too long and they never wear, and then the resin wore them out too fast. My
Well, let's go
question
back to
then
concrete.
is why is it why are we using anything? Let Goodyear work,
a tire that can be
just
performed.
do their thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's stop using tire prep. Let's just have a tire that can be bolted on the car and perform and be taken off.
Yeah, and I mean, the PJ1 is good in some scenarios where it's definitely made racing better, at least back in the Gen 6 age. I don't know too much about the next gen car, but the Gen 6, the PJ1 helped racing a little bit. It helped the tire wear as it was supposed to, and it definitely gave the bottom line a chance at some of the 1.5-mile tracks like Kansas or tracks like Charlotte, just those kinds of almost cookie cutters that existed from the 2000s era when they were being built. Definitely helped the racing on the bottom, but at Bristol, I feel like it just needs to be the concrete. Because when it's done right, both lanes can be run good. The high line can give you the runs off the corners to defend, but you can also still send it on the inside to try and slide job going up the track.
Sure.
At least with the concrete itself. And that's what I've noticed with iRacing, because I'm pretty sure iRacing doesn't have any PJ1 or resin-esque substance on their track surface. And at least with the trucks, I've had before the week changed, I had great racing at Bristol all week. And even though we're probably running faster than the Cup cars.
So let me ask you something then. Why is Kyle Larson saying he hopes he never runs a race like that again? What did he mean by that?
Ooh, well, okay. Probably for the stress of it, because yes, with how slow the drivers had to be just to save tires, just to make them last 50 laps, definitely wasn't helping the racing part of it. Yes, it helped strategy out, which I feel like is NASCAR's missing a lot since the implementation of the stage racing. That's what they've been missing strategy-wise. But drivers-wise and racing-wise, it definitely took the racing out of it. If we can get that kind of tire wear, but lasting like 100 laps and getting rid of the stages, that would probably be one of the best combos you could probably make without changing everything that NASCAR has right now.
Yeah, they're trying to take away some of the racing when I think these boys
Yeah.
just want to go racing. That's what they've done
Now,
their whole life.
They did racing. I mean, you saw the first 50 laps before everybody realized the tires would have disappeared.
Yeah.
So the track had racing. We can get tires, or track surface, I should say, to last at least 100. Because what the NASCAR guys, they had about 5-6 sets to use, including their qualifying scuffed. So a set every 100 laps, it's possible. Get rid of the stages, boom. There's your that's strategy. That's racing, and maybe even a little bit of fun at the end of the race when it comes to a green white checkered scenario or something like that.
All right.
Well, from being an IndyCar fan and coming from that perspective, I'd much rather see a tire saving race than a fuel saving race.
That's true. You're just lifting throughout the entire corner and getting
Little bit.
nothing out.
Yeah. Yep.
At least with the IndyCar, you can just adjust the fuel mapping, at least on iRacing. Not
Yep.
too sure about in real life.
Yep. The most efficient way is fuel map plus lifting coast. So, but
I mean,
So just is this correct? Denny Hamlin, P1.
Denny Hamlin beat your
Yep.
favorite driver again.
God dang.
Martin Truex Jr. P2. Brad Keselowski P3. Alex Bowman P4. And Kyle Larson P5. That rounds out your top 5.
Joe Gibbs guys were on fire that week. I mean, there was moments where they were 1, 2, 3, 4 with Gibbs, Truex, Hamlin, and Bell. Yeah, I didn't catch the last half of the race. I had to go do things, but at least before the halfway point, they were the team to beat. Maybe maybe Kyle Larson, if he got the strategy right, was definitely a contender, but it was hard to beat those Joe Gibbs guys this past weekend. If you managed to beat Joe Gibbs guys with the car, how their cars were, all 4 of them got wrecked out. That's the only way that I think you could have beaten them.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, like a Daytona.
Yeah. You can't put it past racing.
I mean, DEI. I mean, the only way really beat DEI back in their prime days in super speedways was them getting wrecked. That was about it.
All right, just to stay on schedule here, we are going to go ahead and switch over from NASCAR to start covering Formula One.
Oh yeah.
Although there's not much to cover with Formula One.
No, I
So
mean,
this should be a
just
pretty
read your
quick
sweatshirt.
topic. Yeah, right. I mean, it should be a pretty quick topic, but we are going to go ahead and touch on everything. So
Wait.
you better not play the Dutch national anthem.
Oh no. Either that or
Oh
just some
gosh.
sort of mesh.
Here we
He's
go.
got the sound. He's got the
McLaren
soundboard
has
ready.
entered the
There we go.
chat.
You said
We'll get-
F1, right?
We'll get to McLaren here in just a couple minutes.
This comes with your annual Netflix Drive to Survive subscription package.
Hopefully one day
Maybe.
that would be awesome. So we'll start with the obvious. Max Verstappen is already running away with the season, looking like he has no issues at all. Checo, on the other hand, is still way off the pace to Verstappen. He did look decent in Saudi Arabia, but it's also a track that suits him very well. So I wouldn't be surprised if next weekend, we show up in Australia and it's a totally different, well, the same story that we've seen for the last year and a half. Also on the Red Bull crew, Daniel Ricciardo not having a promising start to the season. As much as I would love for him to have a promising start to the season, it's just not hooked up. Obviously, some tensions are already arise for him and teammate Yuki Tsunoda. But still a long way to go. We still have 22 races. I mean,
Verstappen's definitely running away with it now.
right.
But he isn't. I don't feel like at least he was as dominant as he was. Yes, he still pulls away very easily because it's hard to fight how aerodynamically efficient that Red Bull is. But for what I've noticed, it's definitely a lot more condensed in the mid pack. And I'm
Yeah.
kind of expecting the same thing we had last year, where we get to Silverstone or something like that. Red Bull's already working on their 25 car because they know they're already running away with the championship. As long as they don't absolutely screw up something in multiple races at a time, it's going to be the same thing as 2024 or 23, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I do expect halfway through the season, or like maybe even at the earliest a quarter of the way through, for it's kind of what happened last year. Not exactly McLaren having their
Things
from
start
finishing
to
17th to podium spots, but
yeah.
getting closer to Red Bull later on in the season with just the whole field in general.
I really hope you're right. It makes me nervous because what I have seen was, McLaren is saying 6 to 7 races before a very solid update. They seem to not have really carried much momentum into this year's car. Now, whether that's a lot of behind the scenes and they're putting a lot into development and worrying about big gains and not so much small gains, we don't know. It's all speculation, but just judging off the first couple races, it has been kind of hard to watch. Mercedes is on the back foot as well.
Yeah.
Ferrari is really the only car that seems relatively close in pace. They look like they had some positive momentum over the winter, but same thing. I think Ferrari is going to, injure themselves mid-season, halfway through, or towards the end. I think they're going to be their own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Obviously, I hope not. I would like to see them do differently, but I don't know. It's just seeming like Formula One is just rough right now. So we're all just trying to stay positive.
Yeah, you
I'm
just got
waiting
to
for the
remember.
2026 changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to remember though that every era of the cars have their dominance. Not to downplay Schumacher or Lewis, but that's when Ferrari was at their peak. It's when Mercedes was at their peak. Vettel had his time, and Red Bull had their time, and they've just got another, a round of good times. They hit the regulations on the head, and if I can put my tinfoil hat back on, I don't know. Maybe they may have had some info before some other team,
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well,
or some calls made at the end of the 21 season race.
Oh, so you're that kind of person. Okay.
What do you
there's
mean that kind
always
of person?
speculation. There's always
I get the
speculation.
point though. It definitely
Yeah.
was.
Well, it's no
I see
different
both
than
sides of that, but that's
Mercedes.
21.
You know, the entire regulation change in 2012 or 2013 when
Mhm.
Mercedes started their years of dominance,
Yeah,
the regulations were built with
brand new.
Mercedes. Well, not
Exactly.
only that, but they were so we could see kind of a replicating thing. The FIA is taking a certain team under their wing and helping kind of build and shape these new cars. And unfortunately, that team gets the most out of it.
All right. So 2026 regs, we expecting Alpine to get the new startup job, I
Oh,
Uh,
guess.
that would be something.
That'd be bad, but that
That'd
would
be
be
one for
funny
the
at the
history
same
books,
time.
I think, to be able to just immediately flip it around like that. Because I can tell you right now, from now to 2026, they don't have anything positive
No,
coming.
I mean Pierre and Esteban. I mean, for the media, they're looking like friends, but I'm sure there's stuff behind the
We've
scenes. I
already
mean,
seen
what was
their
it? They're
on-track
Formula Two,
action.
Formula Threes. They weren't
Yeah,
friends. The cars themselves definitely suck. I'm gonna be honest. The nose piece kind of looks like the old F2 nose piece or something you get out of an F123 My Team car.
right.
So it doesn't, unfortunately, get that car. I don't expect that to be good, and
And
they're
the
probably gonna have a
resources,
brand new driver lineup in 2025.
but
So
the
I don't think Pierre's gonna be
resources they
happy.
have. I mean, we're talking about a team
Yeah.
that has been well established in the sport for, obviously not under this name, under a different name, but
Renault, Lotus, there's
exactly.
history
I mean,
behind
there's so
Alpine,
much
and it's
history. So,
unfortunate they're this bad.
complacency happens in all levels. So I think that's probably what we're seeing here, and this is probably like the ultimate repercussions. So, um, let's see. What are we doing on time? So we're not doing bad on time. Um, I'd say,
Touch real quick on the icing on the cake for Red Bull and Max Verstappen and everything.
yep,
Max is doing so good that after his qualifying, he went and hung out with his team red line until like
Yes.
4 in the morning.
yeah.
Um,
There's
I just
Oh,
want to
he's
like kind of clarify something though. All right, like they qualified and they raced at like 8 p.m. So
yeah.
for him to be on until like 4 a.m. is probably like he's probably advised to. Like people were making it such a big deal, like, oh my god, he was
Man,
up till 4 a.m. and then he had to race the next day. He raced at 8 p.m. local
man,
time.
he could have slept the whole daytime for the Saudi Arabian
Exactly. He was
times and
probably
now playing the
coached.
car fully energized. Fully
Exactly.
energized.
He was probably coached into stay up late, sleep
right.
during the day, wake up at 3, 4, or 5 in the afternoon, whatever it may be, and go from there. So just throwing that out there. It's not crazy. He's also an addict. Okay, Max Verstappen is a racing addict,
I mean, hey,
and
we got
exactly,
everything here.
we're all sitting
I'm
at our
waiting.
rig,
I'm waiting on a damn wheelbase. I mean,
and this guy can go and put it on pole in F1 and then goes and mess around on iRacing. So it just
Yeah.
goes to show that the greatest in the world, so to speak, is still on this iRacing game.
Is
wasn't he on
100% a
controller?
sim racer. We're just racing drivers at heart.
I heard that too. I heard that it was a controller as well
Yeah.
in his
That
hotel. Yeah.
Or
that
his racing wheel just like
that
straight
is
90, like a video, like a plain GTA with mouse and keyboard.
He would
Like
though.
that's
He would,
yeah, that seems like something Verstappen would do.
and he'd
yeah.
still beat us all. He would still take us all to school.
He would still beat us all. So kind of what we still have on the schedule is we're gonna do a little bit of IndyCar. AJ is gonna cover a lot of the IndyCar.
Oh, he's got to put the hat back on.
Right.
Hang on.
And then after we talk about some IndyCar, we are going to kind of round out the podcast with some sim racing. Now is about the time. If you have any questions or stuff you want us to talk us about, we will be kind of going down the chat at the very end with anything you guys have to say, and we will basically touch on whatever's in the chat. So yeah, get active in there, and then yeah. So AJ, if you want to take it away.
Sure thing, yeah. So talking about IndyCar at St. Petersburg, they kicked their season off there like they do every year. I wish I could say it was a barn burner. The last few years have been, and unfortunately, St. Petersburg, in order for it to become a barn burner, needs some timely cautions, and that just didn't happen. It ended up being a fuel mileage race. Um, Even some of the drivers were suggesting, I think Will Power said, just bring it back to the classic 110 laps versus the 100 laps, and that makes trying a three stopper much more valuable. Try pushing versus trying to save it. It would make saving a lot harder to make it those 10 laps there. So
Sure.
the drivers know it. The fans can see it. And Newgarden just being one of the most tenured drivers right now, just got it all right. If you noticed the last 30 laps or so, there was some hard racing. You saw Plo make a lot of moves. You saw McLaughlin making moves. You saw Power make his way up to the front. Um, so the racing potential is there, but not when you're just lifting and coasting into every corner trying to hit a fuel number.
Sure.
So that was unfortunate. Um, like always, Plo impressed. The Ganassi cars did not, though. In general, I would say the Ganassi cars, I think, from what it looked like to me, it looked like they had a brake problem because almost all of them had a moment going into a certain corner. I can't remember what corner it was, but it was all the same one where even Scott Dixon had a moment there. Linus Lundqvist lost a car there. Um, I want to say Marcus had some. Marcus Armstrong had some mechanical problems. I want to say. I don't know if that was related to the brakes or not. But yeah, even Dixon and Plo had a moment in that corner. So that they were a question mark. They're one of the top teams right now, and obviously with Plo being the two-time champ, you're thinking him in that DHL car needs some. You know, they're obviously the favorites, and they didn't really show up as strong as they could have. But Pillow, being the driver he was, drove that car, I think, to the top five, maybe sixth, but I think he got into the top five there.
Oh wow.
Penske's were the top team for sure. They found their way to the front. Three out of the top four cars were Penske's. Pato drove the hell out of that McLaren. So then I have on here, is Penske that good? 3 out of the 4 were Penske cars. Are they really that good? Well, IndyCar testing is very limited, and unfortunately, track time for every team is not the same. And with the new hybrid testing going on, Penske has been one of the teams that have gotten the most track time this offseason.
Mm,
And even though the new hybrid has not been introduced to the first race yet, it's going to be introduced probably after the 500. Regardless, Penske's had the most track time. So, how we were kind of mentioning earlier, with the Red Bull being so strong and all that kind of stuff, even though it's a spec series in IndyCar, track time is everything. And data, data, data. The more data you have, the better you're going to be. And it's hard to say that they haven't had the favoritism a little bit towards testing. So, let's just keep that in mind going forward with watching IndyCar and see how that pans out. Some of those teams have had more time than others, and that's one of them.
mm. I guess you can. Penske does own IndyCar, correct?
Yeah. Rogers owned IndyCar IMS for the past 4 years. He bought it right before COVID.
Gotcha. So you could say that there's obvious favoritism for reasons.
In
But
foil hat.
yeah,
Sorry.
but is it
Yeah.
fair in a supposedly fair, racing organization? I mean, you could have your speculation. Um, but I mean, it is showing right now that they are that good. Um, if we're just gonna talk about the facts on the table, yeah. Um,
Exactly. Yep.
let's get a few races in. Let's get some other teams playing catch up a little bit, and
Still a little
uh,
early in the season.
still a little early in the season. But yeah, I mean, let's hope that we can just get some good racing throughout the season and not just some fuel number races and whatnot.
Yep. Yep. And they definitely will come.
Right.
So now I'm trying to pull up here the IndyCar race this coming weekend. They are racing. This is a new thing for them. The $1 Million Challenge is what they are calling it at Thermal Raceway, out in California. It looks like we're going heat racing in Indy cars.
Whoa,
Wow.
Yeah, I know,
that's
right?
new. How big is Thermal as a track?
That is a great question that I totally should know the answer to.
You said it was in Cali?
Yeah, yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab a drink. Oh,
All right. Thermal Club is a 3-mile raceway which includes the most of the South Part circuit and adds highly demanding. Once I find the rest of the wording here. Where did I leave off? Highly demanding. So it's a 3-mile race essentially. I think. Oh, it's a road course. It's another road course, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. So it looks like
Okay, found it. Highly demanding trajectory on top to get a total of 19 turns. The layout consists of sweepers, tight corners, long straights, and elevation changes have provided proper driving and engineering to challenge the teams.
ooh, nice.
yeah, it's a club track. It's a private track.
It is.
So
Oh, so it's gonna bring some good racing.
It's going to be a good racing surface too. At
Yeah.
the same time, that race will go on Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern on basically all your normal streaming, whatever NBC, IndyCar TV, whatever you use, I guess.
So it looks like they got a heat-based format that's not too dissimilar from IndyCar's knockout qualifying system. This is from racer.com. Two 10-lap heats will be held Sunday morning with 13 cars in one and 14 in the other. And from both heats, the top 6 finishers will advance to the 20-lap grand finale.
Sounds like something they're putting their own spin on a version of NASCAR's All-Star, except obviously on a road course, but it's kind of their own spin to it, which I like, honestly. I mean, I'm glad we're not copying the format that NASCAR used, at least trying to do their own thing, but still that caliber of an event. I mean, when the All-Star race is at Charlotte, I'm pretty sure it still is now. It's $1 million to win.
Yeah, yeah, and man, I wish these kind of numbers could be thrown around IndyCar a little bit more. And unfortunately, this number is pretty rare for IndyCar drivers to see. So you might actually see some really hard racing for this.
Yeah.
It
Well, and as you should. I mean, these drivers, this is what they do. This is what they love doing. So going
Yep.
out here to compete for some basically off the books money, no points and no, you're not entitled to any points. You're just going out here for the love of the race and trying to secure the bag, so to speak. So
Yep.
it's definitely gonna be pretty exciting. I'm gonna have to do some more research on this track and get some like some pictures or aerial footage or whatever. See if we've got anything we can see. Um,
mhm. As speaking for as an IndyCar fan, I really wish I was more excited for this. Um I'm not a fan of gimmicks, and I unfortunately I feel like this is something that they're really just trying to draw in some viewers, and that is definitely what IndyCar needs. Um but just to throw out my general opinion on racing and IndyCar and safety, man, I'm worried that this could draw up some produce some risks. Drivers are going to take some risks that they may not normally. This is not their car. They are racing for $1 million, and there is no consequence for wrecking. It is,
Then
it's just there's no points on this or anything like that. So I don't like the sense of putting people at risk for quote no reason, which I'm not saying there's no reason here. It's $1 million, and
Sure.
that's a million reasons. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, what is our overall goal here? We want to drum up excitement, and maybe this is the way, and I will totally accept that I'm wrong. And if this is a home run, I want to be wrong. But I really think that they've got a product here that they've got something here that I don't know if we just necessarily need an exhibition race. And even if though we're doing one, why are we doing it in America? There's talks about the Argentina race and Mexico race and having races elsewhere. That's where the exhibition race, in my opinion, should be.
Not in
Uh,
some millionaire's
yeah,
backyard.
yeah,
yeah.
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 So if
Yeah.
you're trying to get in front of some new people, those are the people that you need to be in front of, not some rich guy's backyard.
Yeah. Some
And then
immediate races that come to mind where it was pretty much a publicity stunt. 2013 Vegas, correct?
if
2012?
if you're mentioning welding, that's 11. But yeah,
2011
yeah.
Vegas. So yeah, I mean another kind of big thing. If you want to touch on that a little bit, just kind of like what you were
I
telling me the other
just
night. Go ahead, Brendan.
I was just gonna add a point to what AJ meant about no risks. Is that especially the bigger teams like Penske, they could probably afford wrecking a car,
Sure.
and just it's kind of I mean it's not exactly pocket change, but they'll probably gonna tell their drivers send it.
They got
You
a
gotta
backup.
move, take it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they got a
But
backup,
what does that mean
and
for
it's
the
probably
smaller
not.
teams? You know,
That's my point. You
that's
get
the
wrecked, and
yeah,
that may be your only road spec Indy car you have.
yeah. And
So
now you're all of a
I just
sudden
wanted to add that
scrambling for
point.
1.2
Exactly.
million dollars to try to get another chassis.
Unless you're lucky enough and you win that thing as a smaller team, but who knows?
Yeah, right. Um,
So yeah, if
well,
you want me to touch on like the gimmick, why the reason
uh,
we do gimmicks
correct.
is
The
because of
safety
the
factor, yeah,
yes, for the 2011 IndyCar finale, when we tragically lost Dan Weldon. There's a new documentary that I suggest any race fan to go and watch. It was just put out on Max, HBO Max, called Lionheart. Um, just going to give you the gist and why I don't think that gimmicks in this are we don't have a place for those in racing. You don't need it. It's an exciting enough product that you don't need gimmicks. It was Randy Bernard's brainchild of a IndyCar challenge, a challenge to anybody in motorsports that can come race an IndyCar. It was a last to first challenge. Anybody that's not an IndyCar driver, come in, $5 million if you win the race. Trying to showcase how difficult IndyCar is, and unfortunately nobody bit. There was always a bunch of rumors of these random people that were gonna jump in an IndyCar and take this challenge on, and unfortunately no one really stepped up, and they went to Dan Weldon to do it. And being the racer he was not signed to a team that year, even though he had won the Indy 500 with Herta Autosports earlier in that year. He didn't have a regular season ride, so his schedule was open, and so he took that challenge, and that's a gimmick that has no place in the season championship or the season finale or any of that. Deep down, Weldon shouldn't have been there, and I'm not saying that the Thermal Club is going to see anything like that. It's
sure.
just it's unnecessary.
Those are the
And
reasons why we don't need them.
Yeah.
yeah. Now again, Thermal's not an oval. The Las Vegas being unsafe for those cars in general is a whole other topic of conversation. That's why they don't race those. That's why they don't pack race like that anymore. It's dangerous. But yeah, just I don't see the it sounds unnecessary to me. I'd rather it be a points race. I would honestly just rather it be a points race.
Yeah. More safety, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
these drivers are already putting so much at risk. Yeah, some would argue, oh, they get paid lots of money and da 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 da. Yeah, I mean, you're still, strapping yourself to a fucking rocket.
There's a
And
chance you may not use that money. I know it's dark,
exactly,
but
there's a chance.
there's
Yeah,
always a
no,
chance.
that is the
You put the
reality
belts
of it.
on, and it
You know,
happens.
that is the obviously the one big thing that separates sim from real world. That's why we can put out lap times that are 5 seconds faster than they can. We don't
Mm.
have that scary thought of dying when we're entering a corner at 180
Yeah.
miles an
We could
hour.
understeer the hell out of Sebring turn one and
Exactly,
just hold our toe button.
dude.
I mean,
So it's
they
like,
can't.
yep. Um, so does that round up our IndyCar segment?
Yeah, sure thing. Like Brendan said, yeah, tune in this weekend, 12:30 Eastern, 11:30 Central, for some exhibition IndyCar racing. Well, something you'll
Yeah.
never see. I guarantee you that. You'll see something you've never seen before.
Heck yeah, that'll bring some excitement. I'm excited. I'm always excited for some racing. Um, well, I think this is the part in the podcast where we are going to kind of transition from the real life side of things into the sim racing side of things. Um, so let's talk a little bit about Cam and kind of what we're doing here
Oh yeah.
at Cam Motorsports. I'll kick it off just a little bit, and then I'll pass the microphone over to one of you guys. So basically, this time last year, I was on iRacing. These guys have been on iRacing, and basically, I wanted to do the 12 hours of Sebring. It would be my first ever endurance race on iRacing, and I was in a league. One thing led to another. I made a post. AJ commented on it. We formed a team. We raced, and we got a podium. And that's kind of one thing led to another. We started doing every kind of big endurance race for last year. And then basically in December, we kind of talked about of like, what it could be and stuff. So we started doing a bunch of promoting, bunch of recruiting. We're up to about 21 members right now. Um, and about 15 of those drivers are active endurance drivers. Um, and so basically, like what we're kind of doing is just building teams across the GTP, the GT3, and the LMP2 class, and really just trying to take these iRacing endurance events head on and putting as much as practice as we possibly can. We are trying to practice as much as a real team would, putting in all the simulator work, all the setup work. Um, and basically sharing that with the abundance of drivers that we have and trying to take this. And just for a little bit of context here, at the very beginning of this year, we started the season with, I think, 12 or so drivers. Um, and one of those teams went out and won the Daytona 24 hours. Fast forward 1 week later, one of our drivers who was on that Daytona team went out and won the Daytona 500. Um, you know, we can talk about what could have been. We also almost won the Bathurst 12 hours. So I guess basically what I'm trying to say here is, we're a team that's, we have a bunch of drivers from veterans in iRacing to rookies in iRacing, and we're really just trying to get the team out there, get the name out there, get a bunch of drivers in, and be able to compete in all of these big races, and eventually, hopefully get into the esports world. Um, and also, side note, we're a bunch of guys who love racing. Obviously, that's why we do it. So that's why we
Yeah.
created the KAM Racing Podcast.
It was
Uh,
just us three and Kyle in a caddy prototype.
correct.
And then
And
here we are with running three teams for the Sebring 12 itself. Myself, Neil, and Joshua Overmar will be sporting the BMW,
yep.
the KAM Motorsports number 69 Beamer. I'm gonna need a refresher on the guys. I think TJ, Thomas, and there's one more for the
So it would be
LMP.
TJ, Marco, Aaron, and Lucas are running in the LMP2.
Okay.
And then we'll have myself, we'll have AJ, and then Kyle and Bevan running in the GTP class this coming weekend at the 12 Hours of Sebring on the iRacing platform. The GTP class will be live streamed from this Twitch. There will also be another live stream, and then another, like, we'll have a bunch of live streams to watch all the drivers. But yeah, AJ, kind of tell these guys, like, kind of the preparation that's been going into this endurance racing.
Yeah, Matt, you've been working us like a dog. Uh, yeah, practice every night. Here we go. Who's gonna be here?
Yep.
As much as I'm joking, that is what it takes to produce some of these results. You don't just hop in here and do good. You have to put the time in. You have to put the track time in. Now more than absolute ever with the rain being here. Geez, I mean, I don't know. I never thought I was an amazing driver, but I thought I was pretty decent. I'm good for the average guy, I think. And
Yeah.
then the rain shows up, and yeah, I am definitely not average anymore.
Considering that at least half of the Sebring 12 will be in the rain.
Yeah, this will be a test of my patience and the drywall in my house.
At
So
least we're honest on that.
we'll see how it goes. Yeah. It's supposed to be fun. We're having fun, right, guys?
I just want to
Fun.
have fun.
Having fun.
But the preparation for endurance races is very, very real. Obviously to do well in anything you got to practice, but these are no joke. It's anyone can kind of throw a lap together, but to do it for 3 hours is
More.
challenging.
Almost.
Or 4, sure, yeah. It's chess, not checkers.
Yep.
You are thinking very long
With
term
20 more pieces.
with so many more pieces, right? Yeah. But like I said, track, it really comes down to just knowing the track, knowing your car, being comfortable in your car, and the people that you're with. You can't be butting heads with these people. We built this team up with good people, and that's the main thing. I
For
think
sure.
that I like to take away from all this is, you're not going to have success if you're button heads or not working well together. So, and I think that's something we do very well. We listen to everybody. Everyone gets a chance to speak up and give their 2 cents. And yeah, I mean, we started off the season well. Brendan and the boys bringing home that BMW was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm still
Brendan,
surprised by that.
at one point in the race, did you finally like say, okay, we might have a chance at winning this? Because it's a 24-hour race. I mean, we're not gonna.
When I got back into the car after TJ and Thomas managing it throughout the night, because we did the Friday night split,
Yep.
and then I did a stint, then another teammate of ours, Neil, did a split, and then we handed it off to Thomas and TJ, who traded it back and forth at least twice throughout the entire night time, at least here on the East Coast for me. And honestly, when I woke up and got back on the rig and still P1, because I know we were P3 before I went to bed,
Mm-hmm.
and then I see P1, I'm like, wait a minute. Thomas still had another stint in him before I got back in the car. When I was in the car, the track was still dark, but the sun was right there, so it was about to start being sunrise again. We had about a 30-second lead to P2, which is definitely saying something about it.
Yeah.
And then the last stint in the last race, which was driven by me, needed extreme fuel saving. We did our 4 tires in full tank, and we still needed about, I think, 2 to 3 gallons in the
Ooh.
tank. Maybe over exaggerating, but we needed a fuel save.
Yeah.
With how I drove Daytona on the bus stop specifically, I was just gonna use this as an example. There's a caution light in between the 1 and 2 brake marker to the bus stop. I used to brake there. Now I'm lifting to lift and coast before the 3
Yep.
on the bus stop. and then I start breaking at my normal point, and that just showed how much we needed to save. And I still had a 30-second gap to P2 when the last lap came around, and it got out of the bus stop, and I knew all I had to do was just pin the power, upshift right, and it was a Daytona 24W.
Yeah,
That's little self plug, but that whole stream is up on my own Twitch if any of y'all want to watch, because
definitely.
I know some of y'all would definitely like to relive that moment, especially the GT3 drivers and James Morris, who was our crew chief at the time, or at
Yeah.
least when he was able to be there. So yeah, if any of y'all want to go watch it, that's a video that'll be on my Twitch for the rest of the time.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, and congrats again on the win. We were super ecstatic for you guys. Unfortunately, we had a fast car. Everyone was looking really good on our team. We just unfortunately had a couple incidences come our way, and it's endurance racing. I mean, there's just some things you can't avoid. But the big thing is, getting in those incidences. You always got to keep looking ahead, and keep telling yourself you're doing this for a reason. You're putting in all this practice. You know what you're capable of. You just got to piece it together, and you just need a little bit of lady luck, you know.
Little
So
bit,
a little bit,
lot
yeah.
of
In sim racing, lady luck can be the difference, all the difference in a win or,
it,
or a
it
Gotta
lose.
be
was the
lucky all
difference
day and
that
get there
night.
first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I think in this rain, I think we're just gonna want to be out front. I think I
Not
think
out front.
I
Avoid the accidents.
no,
That's all
I
I need
think
to
being
do.
out front because we're not gonna be able to see if we're behind. The spray,
True. True. The
the
spray is
spray is
actually
terrible.
very realistic, so that's true.
Yeah,
Maybe if everyone wrecks out, we might get there.
right.
Sorry. I know, I
That's
know.
all we got to do really is just keep it between the lines, and we should be okay. Get a
I
good
mean,
result.
Daytona GT3 started P17 in class,
Yeah,
and by the time I handed my car off to Neil, I was in the top 5. So,
right.
that's what all I need to do. We didn't have rain in the previous 24, so on 24, I'm excited to do that. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll be able to. Is Spa? I know it's a little far away, but having rain at Spa, at Belgium, where it pretty much always rains, at least in
Yeah,
real life,
yeah.
that's kind of. I may not be able to do that because of real life racing obligations, but I know you guys in the Cadillac and whoever pilots the GT3 that weekend's gonna have a hell of a time.
Right.
But that's a little far ahead.
Yeah, we still have a few. The next big one after Sebring will be the Nürburgring 24-hour. That falls the weekend of May 16th, I believe.
I think that's mid-May.
Mid-May will be the Nürburgring 24 hours. That'll be the next really big one that will be focused on. But yeah, I think in the sim racing world, you might not get as much credit, but I think, excuse me, I think a lot of credit can be given to sim racers for obviously putting in the time and the dedication that it takes to be able to go out here and just win a race, and then not only do that, but to be able to do it in a decent split as well. So
Yeah.
obviously, in iRacing, you have an I rating, and some of us have I ratings that are 2, 3K, and that puts you in a lobby where there's a lot of talented guys who are also putting in the hours. So um, yeah, hopefully, further down the road, we'll have a lot more information to bring you when it comes to sim racing. Um, Obviously, maybe next Monday we'll be doing another pod, um, and we'll hopefully be able to bring you a lot of like highlights and clips and a lot of like good stuff that hopefully happens during the 12 hours of Sebring. Hopefully
Or
we're
Hopefully,
not.
pants
hopefully we got good
things,
stuff to talk about.
or
Yeah,
brown
yeah,
pants moments. Who knows?
right, yeah,
Especially with the rain, the
bunch of
spray could
code
be covering a
browns.
car that stopped in turn 1.
Definitely. So these are all going to be some fun things we can talk about next week. Um, yeah, we are running over a little bit on time, but I think,
Oh, whatever.
yeah, I think
I think
everything,
we did all right here. I think we touched on a lot of stuff that we wanted
Even
to.
I
It was a
believe
good
so.
even if I
intro
joined halfway
episode.
through.
Yeah, I agree. Brendan, thank you for jumping in here when you heard NASCAR.
No,
You
no
felt your
problem.
ears burning.
I didn't even hear NASCAR. I just needed to tell y'all that I couldn't hear AJ in the Twitch chat, but
Well,
we're
I'm
good
glad you
now.
jumped in here because that would have been a fun video to try to edit back and get synced up.
At least he had the
Hmm.
audio.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's gonna be a hell of a time.
Definitely.
Well,
Anybody?
just next week, I'm gonna have to figure out a whole new thing. This thing is gonna get retired for this, so I'm gonna have to figure this out before Sebring. So that's gonna be fun.
We're gonna
That's
have some
gonna be
sim tech talk.
Oh yeah, that's definitely gonna
yes.
be a topics later on once we figure out this podcast is a little bit more definitely, especially on the eNASCAR side. At least setup wise, I'm definitely here. And I know you two with your Cadillac knowledge, at least with what certain things do, and not only the software side, the physical side of it, maybe hell how computers work. I don't know.
Yeah.
If anybody asks in the Twitch chat, we'll answer
Heck yeah. Yeah, and
to the
actually
best of our ability.
going ahead and looking at the Twitch chat, it doesn't look like we have any questions for today. Um, wasn't really expecting a whole lot of questions to begin with today, but hopefully in the near future, we'll be bringing a lot more interaction. We did have quite a bit of viewers, so I do want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone who tuned in to the KAM Racing Pod debut podcast. We very much appreciate your support. Big shout out to the 2 followers that did follow us during this podcast, one of them being the man in the top left corner with the IndyCar hat, and the other one being, I'm not sure exactly, but whoever you are, we really appreciate you. So um, I think that pretty much covers it. I think we did a great job tonight. So
Woohoo!
All right.
yeah,
Thanks, guys. I had a
Yeah,
lot of fun. I'm
definitely.
you
excited
all.
to talk some more racing with you guys in the future, and hopefully brag about some of our future finishes, or you
Yes.
can cry in our sorrows, whichever one it is.
50-50.
Sebring GT3 side will be broadcasted on my own channel, the Twitch
There you
side.
go.
So you should hop in there if you want GT3. And I obviously, like Matt said, GTP, Matt's side will be broadcasted here. AJ may
Yep.
do his own YouTube channel side. And there may be an LMP too. I don't know if any of them are content creators, but we'll
Yep,
see.
you want to plug the Cam Twitter, and then we can also post all of those links onto there.
Yep.
Yeah. Or Matt, I'll DM you then my Twitch.
Yep.
What's the Twitter profile there, Matt?
That would be Cam Motorsports.
There
So
we go.
I actually, yep, I have that right. Oh wait, yeah, it'll be about right. Oh, it's not gonna let me circle the overlay. It's down here at the bottom next to the little bird. It's not updated to the X, but that'll be okay.
It's an old
Um,
overlay. I mean, nobody really says X. I'm still saying Twitter.
yeah, same. But anyways, guys, that is pretty much going to conclude the Cam Racing Podcast. Thank you so much, AJ, for being here starting this with me, and Brendan, thank you so much for joining in with us halfway through. We really appreciate all of your input. So, next Monday, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock Eastern, we will shoot for another Cam Racing Pod. So make sure to catch us on all social media platforms, and make sure you're leaving a like and a follow, subscribe depending on where you're at. And anyways, until next time, peace.